Well, more than 750 students have tested positive for the coronavirus at Northumbria University in Newcastle. Almost all of them showed no symptoms. It's the biggest outbreak so far at any university in the UK. Well, our correspondent Danny Savage is in Newcastle for us tonight. Danny.
Clive, if you talk to students in Newcastle tonight, you certainly get the impression that coronavirus is rife among the community. Everybody seems to know somebody who's got it. The slightly better news, though, is that the 770 Northumbria students who have tested positive, only something like 78 of them are showing symptoms at the moment. But you do get the feeling that there are many, many hundreds, if not thousands of students in this city who are having to stay behind closed doors at the moment and will do for some days yet. Hi Becca.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? A student house in a student street in Newcastle tonight. All the people in this terraced home have tested positive for COVID and are isolating. And the neighbours have had it too.
We thought we were like some dangerous households and we've got COVID, stay away. But they were like, we've already had it, you know.
And you think it's pretty widespread in student houses
absolutely.
in the street?
Oh, it's widespread completely. Just also with everybody going back on like the kind of the night out scene or whatever's left of it.
Second-year students, they've only been back in Newcastle for a week and are sure they weren't infected before they arrived. Do you think the advice should have been different at the beginning of term on reflection now?
I think that they definitely had a lot of time to plan, and I think some precautions aren't quite as good as they could have been, like students coming back to the halls. They're all just thrown back in there and it's shot back up. But I don't regret it at the moment. We're still having a good time in the household and we're working through it quite well.
There are so many students isolating that food parcels are now having to be sent out. This is now a huge operation to look after them.
This week in total we'll have supported both in university accommodation and private accommodation 1,000 students. We're working with partners in the Students' Union and the City Council to make sure that those students have supplies.
This is a hall of residence for Northumbria University. There are scores of cases in this one city centre hall. The university says 770 students have tested positive. 5 days into term. Back in the terrace street, this is the strangest of Friday nights. How are you?
We've all been, a bit rough, but I think we're all on the mend now.
They've got another week of this before they can go out again. The concern is that case numbers will increase. The hope is that this is a peak and things will improve. Danny Savage, BBC News, Newcastle.
The First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, says she's made it crystal clear to the disgraced MP Margaret Ferrier that she should stand down from her seat. Ms Ferrier was suspended from the SNP for travelling from Scotland to London by train despite experiencing COVID symptoms and then returning back to Scotland by train after testing positive. The Metropolitan Police is now investigating. Here's our Scotland editor, Sarah Smith.
Nicola Sturgeon says Margaret Ferrier is a friend, but she's not attempting to defend what she's called a monumental, almost incomprehensible error of judgment.
Her actions were reckless, dangerous and completely indefensible, and I feel very angry on behalf of all of you. Every single day I stand here and I ask you to make horrendous sacrifices as part of our collective efforts against COVID. I've also spoken to her directly and made crystal clear to her that I think she should now resign as an MP.
On Saturday, Margaret Ferrier took a test after showing symptoms of coronavirus. Yet she travelled by train from Glasgow to London on Monday. On Monday evening, she received a positive test result. And then she took a train back to Scotland knowing she had COVID-19. It wasn't until Wednesday that she informed the SNP Chief Whip, who immediately told the parliamentary authorities.
I cannot believe the behaviour of a Member of Parliament. It was complete shock that somebody could be so reckless with the staff of the House of Commons, with the fellow member MPs, but also travelling on public transport as well. Completely reckless behaviour, totally unacceptable, and I'm very angry that the House has been put at risk. Really very, very angry about this.
Madam Deputy Speaker.
An MP making a speech about coronavirus after having taken a test has shocked her colleagues. A DUP MP who sat with her at dinner is now self-isolating. The real concern is that what Margaret Ferrier has done undermines the public health message that anyone with COVID-19 symptoms has to isolate immediately, not even pop to the shops, let alone take a lengthy train journey. Ms Ferrier admits she made a huge mistake. But people here in her constituency, people right across the country, might well be asking, if she can do it, why can't I?
I think she should have known better.
Yep, definitely.
You know, after all the kids that are back at school know the rules, and she should know the rules.
I am an SNP member. I'm just very sad about it all. Very disappointed.
Ms Ferrier is being investigated by the Metropolitan Police and the British Transport Police, as well as the Commons Standards Commissioner. She may face a fine and could be suspended from Parliament. Sarah Smith, BBC News, Cambusline.
Well, the latest government figures show there were 6,968 new coronavirus infections recorded in the latest 24-hour period. That means the average number of new cases reported per day in the last week is 6,273. And on average, 372 people were admitted to hospital every day. This number doesn't include Scotland. 66 deaths were reported. That's of people who died within 28 days of a positive COVID-19 test. And that means on average in the past week, 47 deaths were announced every day, which takes the total number across the UK to 42,268. Now, different parts of the UK have had mixed fortunes when it comes to tackling coronavirus. Luton was praised by the Prime Minister this week for its efforts, but is now back on an official watch list. Other councils are faring better, as our health editor Hugh Pym now explains.
It was an area with a COVID-19 problem. That's why Hertsmere Council in Hertfordshire put out this video a month ago as part of a wide-ranging publicity campaign.
And should you show any symptoms, self-isolate.
And it's had the desired effect. Infections have fallen and the area's been taken off the official watch list. The council leader told me how others had helped to get the messages out.
We had 27 community leaders on a call a few weeks ago who had a reach of between 4,000 and 6,000 people through email lists. So it's identifying the right people to speak to and then get them to disseminate and cascade the information down. And it's certainly worked here in Hertsmere, and I hope it will work elsewhere.
Coming off the watch list doesn't mean the virus threat has gone away, far from it. Here in Luton, they were on the official hotspots list. Various community initiatives were taken and infections fell and they came off it. But this week, Luton has been put back on as an area of concern. Luton's weekly case numbers fell back in August, but are now about 6 times higher than they were.
Some of that has been about more people mixing more, people being out and about more. What we're trying to do is encourage people to think about how many people that they meet with.
There you were on the beach.
Lucia runs a hair salon in the town. She has strict limits on numbers and temperature checks on customers.
If I'm totally honest, I feel safe in here because I have a say in how I'm in charge of people's behaviours in here. However, when I have been out and about because Luton had been, come off the danger list, so to speak. With alcohol comes the more relaxed attitude.
Also on the latest watch list for England, Rotherham's been added and Sheffield moved to a higher level of support. Cheshire West and Chester and Cheshire East have been added, along with Barrow-in-Furness. Wakefield joins others in West Yorkshire on the list. The Welsh Government, meanwhile, will allow people living alone in areas with tougher restrictions to meet one other household indoors. The First Minister has also called on people from areas of England with restrictions not to travel to parts of Wales without extra measures. Hugh Pym, BBC News.